Hello, my name's Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. Today we have an interesting guest who is starting a new golf tournament, Guy de Havillande. Gary, why don't you talk to him about his tournament and how interesting it looks like it's going to be?
Well, the meaning of amateur golf is you don't make money, but Guy, being a disruptor, is trying to change that with a new $1 million amateur golf tournament. I know it sounds like what's the word when it can't be true? It's impossible, but it's true. Guy, where did this idea come from? And give us a few of the details, the sexy details about the money.
Okay. Well, thank you all for having me. I very much appreciate it. The first thing I would say, and I try to make this clear on my website, I am a self-confessed disruptor by nature. I'm not a troublemaker, but the one thing I hate in life is rules that are there for no purpose, in my view. I understand we need rules for this and for that, but there should be a logical purpose to it. Now, I've never understood I understand a professional, a tour player is in a different league to the rest of us. We know that, and that's beyond doubt. But that doesn't mean the rest of us shouldn't get to taste that excitement and that level of reward. I hate doors that are closed to people that shouldn't be closed. I think everyone should have a chance to do something. I'm not suggesting we should go and, eat at the same table as them, but we should have our own table with just as good food on it. And that's what we wanted to do. So we basically devised a series of tournaments where we could offer very substantial prize money to amateur players on a basis that was able to slot into their everyday lives. They're not on a tour going around following a tour. They can do it at their weekend and what have you. And that was the motivation to give us a taste of something that we've never had a taste of, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Well, what's interesting is that besides the money factor, it's for amateurs, it's with strokes for handicaps, so anybody can play. You schedule the event it's match play. You schedule your match with your opponent within a 21-day time frame at your convenience, somewhere at a place at your convenience. And it's kind of almost a self-operating event until the final four, when you go all crazy and jet them into around the world and all that. So exactly. It gives Joe, average golfer, a chance to play for significant money. Of course, he's going to have to win a fair number of matches to get there. When did you first get this idea?
So as far as the idea of the structure of the tournament, it was obviously we have the ethos of the whole tournament, and I'm sorry, I'm digressing slightly, but you'll understand why. It will come back to the point. The ethos of the whole tournament was to get away from the sort of corporate structure, that whole establishment scene. So we didn't want to be beholden to big corporate sponsors or what have you. This needed to be self-funding, sort of kind of by the people for the people, if you like. So there is no way that we could accommodate the number of participants in a 3-day event at a course, which is why we came up with this structure of 10 knockout rounds in conveniently located locations for the two players drawn, wherever that may be. And only once we got down to the last four, as Gary was just saying, would we sort of, concentrate and meet everyone for those finals. But the main motivation was to find a way that we could do it for the number of people that we need to do it for, without it becoming an impossible task.
Yes. I understand that part.
Well, go ahead, Kathy.
No, you go ahead. It boggles my mind to imagine how this is going to happen. You must have to have entry fees for everyone.
Absolutely. So there is a flat one-off entry fee of $495 per competitor.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
I think my colleague Lauren on the interview on our video, sort of rather tongue-in-cheek, said, it's a toss-up between buy a nice golf outfit or buy yourself an entrance to the tournament. Now, obviously for the guy, the lady, or the guy who get knocked out in the first round, that's a $495 golf game. So yeah, it's more expensive at that point. But once you start to eat your way through the field, it starts to get very exciting and very worthwhile.
Is this event global? Is this event in America? And how will that, is it an international event? And how's that going to work out with players trying to schedule matches?
Okay, so this is, for want of another word, this is the inaugural tournament in our series. So this is mainland US only.
Okay.
And that was purely because it's the inaugural event. In our calendar of events, we are scheduling for 2025 to actually kind of remodel this event into a regional. So we're going to have an eastern region of US, a western, and a northern. And the reason we are doing it northern at a different time is purely for the climatic reasons that people up there obviously can't play golf at certain times of the year. So there will be, going forward, there will be 3 regional US events. There will be a European event, and there will be an Asian event. Purely by numbers of registered golfers, the Asian event will predominantly be Japan and South Korea, just by the number of people out there who play golf.
Yes.
Europe, you have a massive amount of golf in UK, Germany, and Spain and Portugal, somewhat less in Italy and the other countries. So there wasn't enough critical mass to do an Italian event, a Spanish event, a UK. So we're doing a European one. Now, obviously, within Europe, travel is probably even shorter distances than traveling within the US. So that wasn't such a big deal. I do have a sort of burning dream, if you would like, to have, and I'm not even sure how we would do it yet, but to have an international event where you would get people from around the world coming to compete, a sort of Ryder Cup thing on a grander scale for amateurs.
You can make it a Final Four. If you narrowed it down to 4 places around the world, the winner of each one, you can fly them to wherever you want to fly them and have them play it off for the to be
that is the only way.
Grand poobah of the entire planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you do with South Africa and Australia? They're kind of hanging out there.
So we had looked at Australia. I've got to be absolutely honest with you. I have no idea the volume of golfers in South Africa. I don't know. It's not a market I've ever looked at. I'm not going to mislead you on that. Australia, love to. I mean, obviously, there's, on the basis Gary's talking about, yes, that would work fine because the time zones are irrelevant because they'd have their own little micro tournament and then the winners would travel to the finals. That would be very nice. I mean, to be honest, at this stage, we were solely looking at Europe and Asia, but I would love to take in these outer regions.
Well, it's just to get to South Africa from any place is apparently an extremely long and sometimes difficult commute. It's just so far away from a lot of other things.
It is. I mean, I've had the luck to go to Cape Town. And the only thing I know is, having seen Cape Town, I don't think I'd ever want to come back because it's so beautiful. It is truly one of the most beautiful places on earth.
But you've got to take one step at a time. You got to get the inaugural one launched,
exactly,
and then conquer the world later. So this inaugural event, when will it start? When will it take place? And when will it start?
Okay, so we are anticipating, in realistic terms, a necessary ramp-up period from launch to achieving what I would call critical mass in 12 to 15 weeks. So we've just launched. We're looking at, so what are we? November. We're looking at something like early February for the start.
Okay. Well, I live in Pittsburgh, and I can tell you it's not golfable here in February. So how does that work?
So, I mean, again, this may prove to be inaccurate, what I'm saying to you, but obviously one is going on one's thing. But just in the counter to what I'm saying, from the surveys we have done and the polling we have done, it does appear that there are certain states who are going to provide the lion's share of competitors into this. And the feeling is those are the sort of Floridas, Georgias, the Carolinas, Arizona, what have you, states that are less dramatically climatically affected than where you're talking about. And this is exactly the reason we want to go to regional thereafter, so that we can cater for the northern states.
Well, you can't forget the upper Midwest, the people in Illinois, Chicago's crazy.
Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan are golfing fools, so they'll want to get. It's on the other side. It's a great excuse for me to get out of Pittsburgh in February or March. I'm not going to have much of a sharp golf game, but it gives me a reason to go to Florida to play my match. So I'm not unhappy about that at all.
Well, I'll pick you up at the airport. Sounds like a date.
Well, you think you're kidding, but I'll call you. So let me just clarify, guys. So the big money payouts, the only payouts are for the Final Four. Is that right? I didn't really see it.
Yes.
Okay. So Final Four for the men and for the women, right?
I'm sorry, Kathy. What did you say?
Final Four for the men and for the women.
Identical for the men, for the women, identical prize for both.
Okay.
And why don't you just list the 4 payouts so people can have their eyes get big?
Surely. In both cases, the winners will receive $1 million. The second place, so the runner-up, will receive $350,000. Third place, $175,000, and fourth place, $100,000.
I'm suddenly feeling a little bit female. Can I maybe switch teams here?
I think that might be opening up a whole political row that I don't want to get into.
Tell me, have you talked to anybody at the RNA or the USGA? What are their feelings about this? Will this affect the amateur status of the people who win the money? And if I just enter and don't get near the Final Four, does it taint me as a professional? I'm sure you've got this all figured out.
Of course. So in actual fact, those rules, I'm not sure how recently, but they have changed. So if you take a step back in time, and don't ask me how far back, but it's before now, just the fact of entering would have forfeited your amateur status. The rules have changed on that now, and it's the fact of if you enter and do not take the prize, and you win and do not take the prize, it does not touch your amateur status. And if you don't win anything, it does not affect your amateur status.
Okay, that makes
so
more
only
sense.
If you take it of the pool of people, 4 people will be affected. And the other aspect to the rule is that after what is considered, and it isn't quantified, but is what's stated a decent period, you can apply to have your amateur status reinstated.
Yes, there are any number of reinstated virgins in golf who used to play tour golf. Gary Nicklaus is one, and Dillard Pruitt, who was a rules official, he won an event on the tour. I think the Chattanooga something, and they're amateurs again. So and I think they even changed the rule on if you win like a car in a hole-in-one thing, that used to turn you into a pro, and I don't think it does now. So.
I would tell you, Gary, one thing, because we polled a lot of amateur golfers in the conceptual stage of this.
Yes.
And we asked them that very question, like, would this be the end of the world for you if you lost your amateur status? And one of the people, it was kind of amusing, he just stared at me. He said, okay, so I have amateur status in one hand and a check for $1 million in the other hand. What do you think? And I said, okay, fine,
It's worth taking a year or 2 off.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned critical mass, Guy. What kind of critical mass do you need for entries to make this thing work? Okay,
so again, forgive me, I'm telling you facts that I'm sure you already know, but with the bracket system, your field is halved at every knockout round. So it's not like you can pick a random number. You have to go in multiples of 2, 4, 8, etc. So our critical mass for it to be a profitable tournament and meet our prized obligations, etc., is 4,096 competitors. So it goes 4,000. I'm sorry.
You should be able to get that. The U.S. Open alone gets 10,000 entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Look, for me, the guy coming from England, that sounds a lot of people. But with the number of golfers in this country, that's not.
Yeah.
Not huge.
Don't they, Gary?
Hey.
They get 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. Some they have in the past for entries for the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I won 2 matches. I'm already in the top 1,000 in this thing.
That's right.
You know, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for me. Well, the big, you know, we can talk about the amateur status thing a little bit more, but the big controversy will be how the strokes are allotted. You know, we got the people in Myrtle Beach have the World Amateur Handicap, and it's based on handicaps, and there's always some competitors who get taken to the woodshed after the first or second rounds and get their handicaps adjusted, or they're allowed to compete, but they're not allowed to win anymore. The dirty little secret of golf is a lot of people, unfortunately, are sandbaggers or manipulate their handicap. And now for $1 million, they've got an incentive. How are you going to try to keep a handle on that, Guy?
Okay, so probably the only question that I don't like the answer to any more than you probably will. When you're talking that level of money and you're dealing with human nature, the temptation to sandbag, to cheat is enormous. And by virtue of the remote nature, there's very little, I would say there is nothing we can do to make it watertight in that sense. There is no system to make it totally foolproof. So kind of in the same mold as moving away from regulations, we're sort of taking the hands-off attitude that it's down to the 2 players on the day. If you feel that something is wrong, we have them within the sign a formal acceptance to accept arbitration from us on any dispute if they feel there's cheating. They report it to us, we will make a ruling, and they are bound to accept that ruling. But I have to be honest with you and say there is nothing I can do to completely eliminate the possibility that the guy turning up claiming I'm a 24 is actually a 3. You know, it's
yeah. If the 7 handicapper shoots 62,
there's something fishy. So
but So well, it's a good problem to have. Again, we're back to you got to get this thing launched to deal with it. Have you been bothered by you're a disruptor. Have you been bothered by the amateur thing as much as I have? I mean, the one that gets me is college golfers are getting tuition. You know, they don't all have a full ride, but the guy who does, he's getting $30,000 or $40,000 worth of education. Plus he's getting equipment and clubs and balls for free. He's flying all over the country to play in tournaments for free, room and board for free.
And now
he's probably getting $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and I can't win more than $750 in an event. And now we've got the NIL money, and these guys are just flat out getting cash. So I don't understand how college players, any of them, can be considered amateurs anymore. So to me,
for
the time is right for your event.
For the sake of our internal management, we do not consider them to be amateurs. Because we do not. I mean, I guess we're on the same page there, and I hate to use that language. I don't consider it's fair. It's not a level playing field. This is meant for what I consider people. I mean, it sounds like you're a far more serious and successful golfer than I am, but it's for those of us who just like to get out there and play golf, and that's all, you know?
I don't know where you heard that in our discussion, but thank you.
I'm just getting that feeling, you know?
I'll take that. Well, no, so I was just getting at, I'm not a fan of the USGA's rules of amateur status, and I don't know if they've addressed this NIL thing with golf.
I don't think they did.
Are you saying, so are college players or college players on scholarship, would they be ineligible to play in this tournament?
That is our feeling, yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I say good for you, because then you're going to get more people who are not proficient at golf, or as proficient as the mini tour level, at least.
Well, because I mean, you're just, yes, I know you've got, look, we all know that probably golf is it's the only sport in the world, the only game in the world that you can play against someone of a completely different level and kind of create a level playing field. There is nothing else that exists like that. Maybe horse racing with the weight handicapping, but that's all. But I don't think that letting a college tour player in is keeping it level. I mean, it's just, I don't want anyone coming along to this feeling, oh God, this is hopeless. I want everyone to feel they've got a real chance, and everyone should have a chance. And, 99% of the people are going to come home having lost, but they had a go,
I think you just coined a term I'm going to start using, college tour, because that's really what it is. It's a pro tour in college, just like all basketball and football are. That's really good. So let's make sure to tell people where they can sign up, where they can find the rules and sign up for this if they want to. Okay, so on our website, which is www.themilliondollarround.com, within the website, you've got an FAQ page, you've got a rules page, you've got a registration page where one of the things you will have to check is the thing we just touched on earlier. You have to accept to accept our arbitration on any dispute over any aspect in the tournament. You have to be 18 years of age. And you send that in, and we give you 21 days thereafter to submit your payment. We don't want to look like we're grabbing your money day one. And that's it. Within 72 hours of receipt of the registration form, which comes to us automatically when you submit it, we will send you a confirmation email with your competitor ID number for the tournament. And that is a provisional number, which becomes a permanent number once we receive your $495 payment.
Do you take credit card payments for?
No, we don't. And there's a very specific reason that we don't. We set out with the intention of doing so, but not from a cheating point of view, but from a sort of buyer's remorse point of view. People have the option with credit card to do a chargeback, a callback, or whatever you call it. Yeah, right. They could have been eliminated in the tournament and 4 months later say, I didn't do this, I want my money back. Yeah. And we can't take that risk.
Okay. So how do they need to pay?
So they need to go into their banking app, and just like the rest of us in everyday life use Zelle, there is Business Zelle. $1 Million Round has a Business Zelle account, and they put the credentials for accessing that are in the website, and they make their payment through that. And again, in total transparency, a Zelle payment is not something that can be called back.
Okay. Well, that was important to know.
Yeah.
How do people get their money there, and how do you make sure you get it also?
Yeah.
So I can't wait to. I hate to say I'm going to sign up, but I probably am. You're giving the average guy. This is why the World Amateur Handicap event in Myrtle Beach is popular, because all these, it's flighted into, I don't know how many flights, 26 or something. A lot of these people with the higher handicaps, they never get to play in anything resembling what they watch on TV, a real tournament. And they're only playing for fun or I don't think they're playing for some shop credit or whatever. I've played in that a few times. It's the thrill of feeling like you're in a real tournament where you got to put everything out, because they almost don't have any events at their club where they do that. In this case, now it's the same situation, only it's even more serious, where there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and now you get to experience the real pressure of playing for big money. Even if you're in round two, if you lose, you're out. So I think it's a great opportunity for people who don't get to play competitive golf to get a taste of it. I've played amateur competitive golf, and I don't really beat too many people, but I'm middle of the pack. I'm good enough to be the fodder in the rest of the field for whoever wins. So I like that. I like playing in tournaments because it gives me a reason and motivation to practice, the fear of embarrassment, all that stuff. I think this is great for people who don't have that chance on a regular basis.
As Fuzzy Zeller used to say, all I want is a chance to choke.
Exactly. And honestly, it's that I think obviously the money is huge. You know, we can't take that away from it.
At the
But
end,
beyond the money, it's the emotions. It's that.
Yeah.
Look, before I ever picked up a golf club, many decades ago, I used to be quite a competitive tennis player. Never, not in sense of famous, but at my club level. Every time I'm playing in a match, in my sort of imagination, I was playing at Wimbledon or Forest Hill. It's that dream that, you know, without something like this, we never get the chance to live that moment. And, you know, even if you do get knocked out in the fourth round and you don't win anything, you'll be sitting there in 20 years holding your scotch in the evening, remembering how you felt that day. It's you know, telling your kids. It's to me, that's huge.
The thrill of competition never gets old. And that's really what fuels these guys, most of them on the senior tour. Padraig Harrington certainly and Steve Stricker certainly don't need to win any more money, but what are they going to do? You think go and play recreational golf is going to be any fun for them at home?
No.
That thrill of competition, unless you've experienced, I mean, once you have, it's hard to go back.
No, but let's be honest. Have you ever met anything bigger than a golfer's ego?
Tennis players.
Well, similar, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I've said this many times, selfish golfer, you know, when you're a golfer, it's all about you and your score all the time. At least if you're in a team sport, it might be somebody else, but when it's you, it's all, you know, the caddy's about you, it's all about you. Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. You can't blame anyone and no one else gets the praise, one or other.
Well, I'm thinking you probably should get the $1 million round, the name of the tournament, on somebody's golf bag and get them some hats and some shirts and maybe pay them $1 million to carry these bags around. So I just want to let you know I'm available.
Well, that's very noble of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. And you can negotiate me down from $1 million probably, but, you know, I'm just throwing that idea out there.